Today in this video we are going to see about plant life cycle and the alternation of generation. Usually the plants adopt the alternation of generation, that is the haploid gametophyte and diploid sporophyte. So these things are quite possible in case of plant life cycle. And we should first of all know what is haploid and what is diploid. Haploid means if the number of chromosome is in odd number, say 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 like that, then it is called haploid, or the chromosome number is odd number. Diploid means when the chromosome is in even number, say 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 like that, that is even number, then it is called diploid chromosome. So basing on this, the alternation of generation exists in plant life. So we will see the haploid gametophyte gives rise to gametes, that is male gamete and female gamete, and on combination of these two the fertilization happens. What is fertilization? The fertilization is the combination of male gamete and female gamete. So then after fertilization, the two cells is the male gamete and female gamete, that is two cells fuse together, and that is called zygote. So zygote is diploid, in diploid form, that is even number of chromosome. Then from that the plant is developed, that is called Sporophyte generation, that is diploid number of chromosome. Then this gives rise to spores by the process called meiosis. Meiosis is nothing but reduction division. If the diploid number of chromosome is reduced to haploid, say for example, if the sporophyte contains 10 chromosome, then 2 cells are formed, that is by the meiosis 5, each 5, that is called the meiosis cell division. Then spores are formed, that is haploid number of chromosome. Then that gives rise to a plant called haploid gametophyte. So this type of alternation of generation exists in plants. So we are going to see about 3 types of the alternation of generation available in the plants. First we will see the haplantic, and then diplantic, haplodiplantic. So these 3 types of alternation of generation is available in case of plants. First we will see the haplantic. Haplantic means that is the major free living sporophyte, no free living, that is sporophyte, and the free living plant is gametophyte, so that is N. So this gives rise to gametogenesis, that is the gametes are formed, that is NN, that fuse together called syngamy. Then the zygote is formed, that is 2N. Then this 2N is reduced to N, and the spores are formed, that is called by the process called meiosis. Then the spores are developed into gametophyte, that is N chromosome. This is called haplantic. So in haplantic, the gametophyte or the plant body is the dominant one, and the sporophyte is no free living sporophyte. So this is in case of, say example is the Volvox, Ulothrix, Spirogyra, Chlamydomonas. These plants adopt this haplantic generation, alternation of generation. Haplantic, that is haplantic means the haplantic is the free living body, and then this is dependent. The sporophyte is dependent on gametophyte. This is called haplantic, and in the case of Ulothrix, the male and female gametes fuses together called syngamy or isogametes, because both the gametes are similar, that is called zygospore. By this way they develop an independent plant. So in case of next we will see The diplantic. Diplantic means the diploid is a major having major role in these plants in the alternation of generation. The sporophyte plant, that is 2N, give rise to, by the meiosis cell division, give rise to spores, that is N, that is called gametophyte plant, and this forms the gametes, and they unite together, that is called syngamy, and zygote is formed, that is the 2N, that is diploid. Then this developed into sporophyte plant, that is 2N. Here the sporophyte plant is 2N. So this is in case of diplantic. In case of algae, ficus, and gymnosperm and angiosperm. In angiosperm plant, you see the sporophyte plant is dominant. That gives rise to flower, and in flower we can see the male gamete and female gamete. The male gamete is anther, female gamete is ovary, and they fuse together and they form the ovary, and then it develops into a young plant, that is a horseshoe shaped young plant, and that is 2N, that is sporophyte plant. So this is in case of algae, ficus, gymnosperm and angiosperm. So the here you can see the sporophyte plant, the stigma, ovary, and then the male is anther. Anther give rise to pollen, that is reduced to N, and this ovary is also reduced to N. So 2N, that is zygote is formed, and that is 2N, that develops into embryo. Then that is the sporophyte plant is formed from that. That's called sporophyte plant. What the angiosperm plant is known as sporophyte plant, that is 2N diploid chromosome. From that the flower is formed, the ovary, and the pollen grain, that is NN, 2N. So this type of alternation generation is found in the angiosperm, gymnosperm, and then algae and ficus. This is diplantic. So the sporophyte plant is dominant, and then that is 2N independent, and by the photosynthesis it thrives, or it prepares the starch material, and by the meiosis the haploid gametes are formed, and that unite, and the free-living multi-celled plant is formed, that is the sporophyte plant. This is in case of sporophyte, that is diplantic. Next we are going to see about the haplantic. The haplantic here haploid, usually here the dominant is the next one is haplodiplantic. The last one is haplodiplantic. Haplantic already we have seen, diplantic already seen. This one is haplodiplantic. So both things are playing a vital role, that is haplantic and diplantic. The even number of chromosomes and odd number of chromosomes plays a vital role in the maintaining of life cycle. We will see one by one. That is the gametophyte plant have n number of chromosomes, and that give rise to gametogenesis. And in the plant, where we can see the that is archegonium and antheridium, and that fuses together called syngamy. Syngamy, the united, the fused male and female gamete is called zygote. From that the sporophyte plant is developed, that is 2N diplantic, and then it is by the process of meiosis the spores are formed. That spores developed into gametophytic plant. So the gametophytic plant is haploid, and sporophytic plant is diploid. So the spores haploid, and that gives rise to it develops, and that is gametophyte. In gametophyte we can see both archegonium. Gonium means that is the female, antheridium and anther plus the dium. Antheridium means the male gamete, and it is archegonium and antheridium. From that from the archegonium the ovary is produced, and from the antheridium the sperm is produced, and those things, two things are fused together and zygote is formed. From that the sporophyte plant is formed, the spore is formed, that is haploid. So this is in case of haploid planting, the both haplo and diplanting. So these type of three type of alternation of generation is found in plants. So unless we understand this basic thing, it is very difficult to follow the algae, fungi, bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperm, angiosperm, how they maintain the life cycle, how they develop spores, or how they develop anther, and how they develop ovary, what is the chromosomal form. These things we may be knowing by studying this. So this is the basic thing for by which we can understand the life process or the alteration of generation adopted in case of plants. That is, whether irrespective of highly developed organism or the low developed organism. The highly developed plants are the angiosperm, gymnosperm, those things, and the low developed organisms, the plants are algae, fungi, and in that the bryophyta is somewhat advanced and pteridophyta is most advanced, that is tissue type, and it is erectile, and the thallus is found, and the rhizod is also found, and the tissue structures are found. This is with regard to the plant life cycle. So தாவர வாழ்க்கையிலே நாம் இரண்டு விதமான வாழ்க்கை சக்கரத்தை பார்க்கின்றோம். ஒன்று ஸ்போரோஃபைட்டு, இன்னொன்று கேமெட்டோஃபைட். இந்த இரண்டு சக்கரங்கள் சேர்ந்தால்தான் அதனுடைய வாழ்க்கை சக்கரம் முடிவடைகிறது. அதில் ஹெப்ளான்டிக், டிப்ளான்டிக், ஹெப்ளோடிப்ளான்டிக் என்று மூன்று வகைப்படுத்தி நாம் பார்க்கின்றோம். ஹெப்ளான்டிக் என்பது that is the Valvax, example Valvax, Eulothrix, Spirogyra, and Chlamydomonas. These things are example for the haplantic. And then the diplantic example is, typical example is the well developed angiosperm, which is a tree, or which is well developed gymnosperm. In this we can see the diplantic. The sporophyte plant is 2n. From that the anther and ovum is produced, then that feces zygote is formed, then it develops into embryo, that is 2n, that's called sporophyte. So by this way this angiosperm maintains the life cycle. And the last one is haploid planting. Both are playing vital role, haploid and diploid. From the sporophyte plant, the spores are formed by means of meiosis. The spores develop into a gametophyte. From the gametophyte, by the process of gametogenesis, the gametes are produced. That gametes combine together called syngamy. After syngamous, the fused male gamete and female gamete is known as zygote, a single-celled zygote. From that, the sporophytic plant is developed. This is with regard to the example is bryophyta and pteridophyta. So with this we conclude the plant life cycle and alternation of generation.